Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. Today's guest is Amy, a sobriety coach, breathwork facilitator, and founder of the Sober Sisterhood Community. And her road to going alcohol free wasn't a straight one. She got sober, she relapsed, and then she finally found her way back on her own. From waking up on a flight to China with a broken elbow and absolutely no memory of how it happened, to running her own business in Peru. We're going to dive into it all and everything in between. Amy, welcome to the next chapter.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, so take me back to your childhood. A bit of context for my listeners, please. What was it like at home growing up?
Okay, so childhood for me was pretty good up until I was about 6. And then my mum got with a new partner who was very violent and abusive. And that resulted in me witnessing a lot of violence up until the age of 12, until he eventually set fire to our house. And that was
Oh,
the final straw. It was actually the best thing that ever happened because that's what caused them to actually break up.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
so childhood was pretty wild in those times, but before that was very, I think, joyful, and I've been able to connect to the nicer parts of it as well. Yeah.
Okay, so on your website, and I remember listening to one of your podcasts with Jimmy Thistle on After Hours. You said that when you were 11, you had your first drink. What do you
Mhm.
remember about that first day, and what was that memory like?
So I remember being like, I was in year 7, and I knew we kind of hung out with the year 8, so it was cool, and they used to
Mm.
hang out behind this swimming pool, right? And we were all hanging out there, and then there was this young girl. She was a year older than me, and she had gotten hold of her stepdad's port. She was from South Africa. So it was this specific port. Anyway, she asked me if I wanted to try some, and we just kept drinking it and drinking it and drinking it. And of course, port is so strong, and I got so sick with it. And eventually I started like walking home, and my little brother's teacher found me on the roundabout and took me home to my door. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Whereabouts in the UK was this?
So this was in Tadley. This is where I was first born, just outside of Basingstoke.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to work in Basingstoke back in the day. Actually, that's Berkshire, isn't it? Is that right?
Hampshire.
Oh,
Berkshire's
it's
next
Hampshire.
door.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, but
right.
later on I moved to Newbury after the house fire, and that's in Berkshire. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you said that your drinking got worse after your family moved to the estate when you were 14. What
Hmm.
what changed there? Why do you think the drinking sort of ramped up as you got into your teenage years?
Well, I think that, so I remember, I think we moved around the age of 13, and I knew there was kids in the park. They were smoking weed, they were drinking. And as soon as I started to feel what beer felt like in my body, it was
Mm.
like relief. And there was also people in this park that were willing to buy it for me from the shop. So I think it was just easier, and getting people to get it for me was easier.
Hmm. So there was a bit of peer pressure there. You think you were trying to fit in with the crowd?
I think so, but I think I was the one drinking the most, to be honest. Yeah. I think they were more into maybe smoking weed and everything. It wasn't really of interest to me. It was just the drink for me, Foster's particularly.
Oh, okay. Foster's gone. That's a blast from
Mm.
the past, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
did you see drinking as a problem at that age, or was it just what everyone else was doing?
Well, I come from an Irish family, so
Oh,
drinking
okay.
is a very common thing amongst my family. So I grew up watching it in the home, and yeah, it was very common, and it was kind of normal for me to see daily drinking.
Hmm. And it's part of the culture as well, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we've got quite a culture in the UK for drinking. So you went to uni as well. Did it was your drinking, was it really increasing at that point?
Mm.
Big
Yeah, well, I feel like I'd tried a lot of things before university. I mean,
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I was the only one on my estate that went to university at that point. I don't know why or how I ended up doing it, but it just, for the first time for a lot of people, like Freshers Week became the first time that they're really introduced to drinking this much. But for me, it just enabled me to continue what I've been doing for the last, years. Uh, but I do remember drinking more than my friends. They would just drink on nights out, whereas I would have cans in the house on a daily basis drinking.
Oh, okay. So can you put your finger on it now? I mean, looking back on all the work that you've done, why you think you were drinking more than everyone else?
I remember people would say like, or I would feel a little bit insecure around my housemates, and I'd just be like, "That's what I do. That's what we do where I'm from." It's like an excuse. I kind of
Mm.
knew it was an issue, but I couldn't face not having that drink that evening. And I can see now that it's just my nervous system couldn't relax without it.
Hmm. So you were using it more as a coping tool in social situations, or do you think it was more than that?
I just associated the evening time, like winding down and having a
Mm.
drink. Like once my duties at uni were finished, that's all I could do. So if I wasn't required to be studying or be working, then I'd be drinking. Like if I had a day off, I'd be drinking early. So
Yeah, it was any excuse. That's what they say, right?
any
It's
excuse,
just
yeah,
any
yeah,
excuse, whether it's a celebration, whether just any
mm,
reason, we're having a drink and that's that.
yeah. And if
So you
anyone
mo
tried to tell me different, I'd be so defensive. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly
don't
right.
even think I allowed myself to even think about it though, you know? Like
Mm,
underneath, deep down, I knew it was different to everyone else, but I had this strong protection over it because I was so scared of not having it.
yeah, yeah, it's that crutch, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you finished uni and you ended up in China. What
Mhm.
what happened there? So what degree did you do, and what made you transition and move out to China? That sounds like a real big move. I mean, not many people do that, right?
Mm. Yeah. So when I was at college doing my A levels, I studied psychology, sociology, and English language, I think it was. And I was only applying for university because my friends were. And I was in a relationship at the time with an older guy for many years, 6 years. And he didn't really want me to go. But I just thought, right, we're in the class now and everyone's applying for UCAS. So I applied and I went, which was really shocking. But that was the one time I called my dad and was like, Dad, what should I do? And he was like, go. And it was an amazing godlike opportunity, I feel. But yeah, so I went to university and I studied criminology because I think I was very interested in the psychology. I was very interested in the sociology because of the life that I'd lived. I knew it was a very traumatizing life, not like
Mm,
actively in my mind, but I think I was really interested in why I had lived this life. So my
mm.
dissertation was on domestic violence and the effects that it has on children.
Oh,
And I
wow.
remember sitting with my mentor, my tutor, and I was like, because I went through all the symptoms that children can get from being brought up in this environment. And I was like, haven't got this, haven't got this, haven't got this. I was like, I'm not even affected by it. And I look back now and I was affected by all of these things. So I was kind of like just following my past, and I chose criminology because I was interested in the crime side of things. And yeah, so that was my degree. And looking back, it's just so funny how that was what I chose to study and that was my opinion and everything. But so I was working at Pizza Hut on the weekends at uni.
Yeah.
And when I finished my degree, I knew I wanted to travel. I was always interested in traveling. I had been to Spain and Turkey, places like that, and was so interested in the different cultures. So my plan was to move back to Newbury, transfer to the Pizza Hut there, save some money, and go traveling. But my one of my best friends, he moved to China. Two of them from my school, and did a TEFL, and he got me a job in China. He just asked me one day, like, "Okay, do you want to come?" And I had like a half an hour interview. I had like I had barely any money in my account. I borrowed some off my friend for the flight and spending money, and there I was. And I moved there just to teach English. I didn't even have a TEFL. You At that point you needed 2 years teaching experience and a degree, right? So I just got my degree, but I didn't. There was no space for me to teach for 2 years, so they faked a degree for me and got me in that way. But later on, I ended up doing my teaching license when I was in China and got the full qualifications to teach in an international school. But yeah, first of all, it was just teaching English, and it was a huge group of us. There was about 5 of us from the same school in Beijing, and we'd just go out on weekends. And in Beijing, it never sleeps, so the bars are open 24 hours if you want it. So
Oh, okay. Because
yeah,
I've never been to China. I've been to Southeast Asia,
yeah.
but yeah, I would assume that the drinking culture wouldn't be so big there, but maybe it's different in the big cities. I don't
Mm.
know, but it was there was a lot of partying there then.
Yeah, amongst teachers, the expat communities, and yeah, just local people in Beijing, really. Like, so many bars back then, dodgy alcohol, clubs, yeah, whatever you like.
So s- so your time in China, is that when you really noticed that you had a problem, or was it sort of creeping up before that in uni, or was it always there and it was just getting bigger and bigger, or
Mm. I think I went through stages, like sometimes it would get really bad and sometimes it wouldn't, but like I just normalized it. I thought this is what I do, and I never thought I had a problem because I would compare myself to, one of my best friends. He died from a heroin overdose, heroin and crack, and I would always compare myself to him because I wasn't taking heroin, I wasn't doing this. And I just posted about it recently. One of the things he said was like, "Amy, look at yourself." And I was so like shocked by that, because I had the job and I could travel. I had money. I'd been all around the world and I had amazing friends. But it really got bad when I started taking antidepressants. So I started taking them because I was anxious, right? And it didn't even come into my mind that I could be an alcoholic. Like, it just didn't even come into my
register?
mind. Couldn't even fathom that idea. So I started taking the antidepressants, and then on nights out started getting really drunk because of mixing the medication. And like, I hit a couple of my friends. I became really angry, aggressive. And one of my best friends said like, "Look, something's not right." And then I was started to think about it. And then shortly after I broke my arm coming back to China after COVID, I moved in with a girl from Serbia, and Serbians are super straight. Like, they're not like, "You were fine last night, don't worry about it." She sat me down and was like, "You have a drink problem." And for the first time, I was like, "What? What do you mean?" And I was full of shame because I think it was the day after I'd made loads of mess in the kitchen after coming home after a night out. I would like end up cooking loads of stuff. And because of this medication I was on, it would make me do really weird things. And I just felt this massive level of shame when she shared that with me. And she was a yoga teacher, and her yoga teacher was in AA. So she said, "Look, I know this lady and I can link you up with her." And I met up with her on that Friday night. And I think the reason why I met up with her was because of my people pleaser tendencies. I really wanted to make her happy. If it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have gone. So I'm actually grateful for those like codependent behaviors, people pleasing tendencies that I had at the beginning. Yeah.
So how old were you at this point, Amy?
So that was back in 2021. So that was 29 years old.
Yeah, so you're almost 30. Okay, so you're sort of late 20s.
Yeah.
We can't skip over the flight to Beijing story. You're going to have to tell us that one, please.
Yeah. Okay. So that was in, 2020. I went to India for Chinese New Year holiday. I went for 2 weeks to Goa, where I probably partied the most I ever have in my life, but ended up staying because China started to come into this COVID situation, right? So I just stayed in India, ended up staying there for 10 weeks. I was kind of working online and at the same time taking loads of drugs, drinking in the morning. I was so anxious all the time. So I was drinking beer as soon as I woke up. I was in a really bad way. And then eventually we got stuck in a hostel. There was 22 of us, 17 days stuck in this hostel, eating the same thing like 3 times a day. And China closed the border. So I was like, right, I'm going to have to fly back to the UK. So I flew back to the UK, had 6 months there. And of course, it was locked down there and it was just drinking, drinking, drinking at home. We had a really hot summer. And yeah, so from there, I was just waiting to get out. and back into China. So as soon as it
Mm.
opened up, I got on the flight, and my biggest fear was, of course, being in quarantine. I had to quarantine for 2 weeks, and I knew the state of the hotels people were being put in, and obviously you can't buy alcohol. So I was like, in the duty free, like, I need to bring alcohol. How can I bring it in an amount that is going to help me drink? Because at this point I was drinking daily again. So I
Mm.
bought like 3 big boxes of red wine, and I drank like half a box before I got on the plane. Like, I
Wow.
yeah, I just and then I popped a Valium because I would always pop a Valium on flights, but, you shouldn't mix Valium with red wine. And, I mixing those 2 things has made me sleepwalk in the past. It's made me, like, do weird things
Yeah.
in my sleep. So anyway, I was knocked out, fell asleep, and then, yeah, I woke up the next morning, and we just landed in Beijing, so I slept the whole flight, and I couldn't move my arm, and I couldn't get my bag from the overhead thing, so I asked someone to come and help me, and they helped me. And then I realized, like, I could not carry my bag, so someone helped me. So we had to go through the process of the airport, and then we had to get on a coach, which drove us to quarantine. And then there was this Italian couple there, and they said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" I was also really hungover because I'd just drank all that wine and everything. And they said to me, "They dragged you to the back of the plane." And I was like, "What?" Apparently, I refused to wear a mask on the plane and went to the toilet, and yeah, they dragged me. So I was like, "Oh my God," the fear started to come in because no one said anything. So I was like, went into my quarantine room where I had to be stuck for 2 weeks, right? Not knowing if I was going to get deported because I didn't know if I was going to get into trouble. And anyway, the arm was really, really sore, and it started to go black all the way up my arm. And there's like fingerprints all over my arm. And anyway, I just thought, "Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm gonna do." And then I started to feel, okay, it's broken. So I was speaking to one of the people that worked there. He spoke English, just one of them. And I told him, "Look, I need to go to hospital." So they got me an ambulance. I had to be in a separate ambulance because it was quarantine, and we drove to the hospital. And then I just walked into the hospital, which was just bizarre, seeing as like I'm in this quarantine. And they did an X-ray, and I'd broken my elbow. So,
Wow.
but I still don't know to this day, like, I don't remember what happened or
So you have no recollection of that at
nothing.
all, that part
No,
of the flight?
yeah, absolutely nothing.
Wow. And did you manage to get any red wine into quarantine so you could drink it or not?
Yeah, I had, like, the remaining boxes, but did I? Hold on. I think I had one more box, maybe. Yes, I was drinking that, and then the guy that spoke English, I never even saw what he looked like because he was in a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Right, how can I get him to get me alcohol?" Right? And he played chess. So he came into my room, and because he asked if I wanted to play chess, which was totally illegal as well, like being in my room. A sweet, like, teenager guy. So he came in and we were playing chess, and I asked him to get me some beers, but they were like really warm. So they were disgusting, and like Chinese beers, so rubbish. It's like 2%.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so he got me some beers, we played chess, but I remember I just felt so rubbish, craving alcohol so much, didn't even want the warm beer, but obviously I had no choice. And then eventually I had some days without it. But yeah, it was just really anxiety. I didn't know if I was gonna get home to Beijing because I was 4 hours away where the
Okay.
quarantine was. And it was just really, yeah, nerve-wracking. I didn't know if I was gonna get deported, didn't wanna say anything.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yeah.
made for a hell of a story though, right?
Yeah, because you don't wanna mess around in China, right? Like, you can be seriously
Mm.
punished and put in prison. So it was, yeah, a very
Yeah.
difficult moment, but a moment that was like, "Okay, something's up." But again, never thinking I need help.
Mm. Yeah, just brushing it off, just saying, "This is who I am,
Yeah,
and it is what it is," and
yeah,
and just
avoiding
cracking
it.
on really. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier about your first AA meeting. Could you talk us through that, please?
Yeah, so I met up with this lady and it was a Friday night. I was really scared and we met up for like a drink, a coffee or whatever. And she came with her baby. She was like breastfeeding him. And again, I was like, this is so nice of you that you've come. And there was another guy there, friend. His name's Juan. He's now my business coach. And basically we started talking. I told her the situation. And she was like, yeah, I understand. And then she was like, do you want to come around my house for pizza tonight? And I was like, of course. Okay. And then she's like, there's a meeting tonight around the corner. Would you like to come? I was like, okay. So I went and I remember AA was on the door and I was like, oh my God. Like, I didn't even know what AA was really. Like, a lot of people know what AA is, but I didn't really know what it was. And anyway, I walked in and it was a room full of people and mainly, so there's Chinese meetings and expat meetings for English speakers. So
Oh,
obviously it
right.
was the English speaking meeting. And basically it's just a bunch of teachers mainly, which I feel I'm quite lucky because I
Mm.
feel everybody's kind of like it felt safe, if that
Mm.
makes sense, to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I would usually get really triggered by drunk men, for example. Like I think like the AA meetings over here would be a little bit more like that. If that makes sense.
Mm.
So yeah, I went to my first meeting and people were sharing, people were joking and laughing and having fun and talking about being an alcoholic. And of course I was like, yeah, that's me. That's me. Shit. I'm actually like them. Yeah.
Yeah. So you resonated a lot with what they were saying.
Yeah. And I remember my hands were like sweating and hot and I was sat on the edge of the seat. It was just,
Okay. So was that the
yeah.
first? So after that meeting, was that the first stint when you got sober
Yeah.
for the first 6 months?
Yeah. So that woman became my sponsor, went through
Mm.
the steps. I went to 4 to 5 meetings a week. And then on weekends, we would do women's meetings like at coffee shops and stuff, doing step work. And yeah, that was it.
So
AA, hitting AA hard for 6 months.
okay, and then you relapsed over Christmas. Is that right?
Yes. So my friend was like, "Oh, I don't think you're like one of them," because obviously in AA, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but there's a way of speaking, and to people outside of AA, it can sound a little bit strange. And also, a lot of my friends didn't want to accept that I was an alcoholic as well. And like the language I was using, like I'm an addict, I've got a disease, it can be a bit too much for people. So one of my friends was like, "Oh, I think you'll be all right." And I was kind of like trying to get him to give me permission to have a drink. So we went and had a drink. It was all planned, of course. And I had one drink and then he was like, "Right, let's go home." And I was like, "What?" But it wasn't like, have a drink and you're off to the races. It was like the mind chatter, right? So then the moderation started, trying to moderate, obsessing, how many can I have this time? And then Christmas came. And I remember on New Year, it was like, right, I'm going to get some Prosecco, but I'm going to get loads of Sprite as well. So every time I have a drink, I'm going to have half with lemonade, half with Prosecco. Like it was just, I don't even remember what happened that day because I was so obsessed.
Yeah.
I remember I didn't even get drunk because I was watching myself. Everybody else was drunk, but I just remember it being such a heavy, dark energy then. Yeah.
It's
So that
it,
continued.
it's just so exhausting, I think, isn't
Yeah.
it? For people like us who are all or nothing, it is just so consuming and exhausting, and yeah, it just takes over your mind, and you just overthink everything, don't you?
Yeah. Exactly.
Basically, yeah. So
Yeah.
that first attempt at sobriety and the relapse, what did that teach you?
So the relapse, gosh, a great part of my story. Like it was what I needed because I didn't believe I was one of them, right? I knew, but there was a part of me that was like, I'm not one of them, making excuses. I'm not as bad as that. I needed to relapse to see that I'm just the same. I thought I'd learnt my lesson. So it took me like a year and a half of moderating, of going back, always constantly watching. And then I went, no, it was November, and there's this amazing woman called Masuma Cacello. She lives in Beijing and she's a therapist. She also runs breathwork circles every Tuesday.
Mm.
So my friend, even though I was still drinking, I knew I needed something else, and I did not want to go back to AA. I was really just ashamed and didn't want to go back and be like, look, I fucked up. I'm back.
Mm.
But I
Yeah.
knew I needed to do something else. So my friend was like, do you want to come to this meditation circle on Tuesdays? And I was like, that's weird. I don't want to do that. That's like, sounds really terrible. Anyway, I went in the end, and that became kind of my weekly circle, but I was still drinking, and I started doing therapy with this lady who knew I needed to go back to AA. But it took me like, yeah, a year and a half. Every therapy session would just be like, I need to go back to AA. I know I do, but I can't. Uh, and then Masuma and Jenna, they ran a program through Annie Grace's This Naked
Yeah.
Mind, the alcohol experiments. They did it for
Yeah.
a month. And I was like, okay, I can get sober and I don't have to go to AA, and I can do it with people I know. So it was 1 month, the month of November. It was easy for me to just stay sober for November. And
Mm.
then when December came, I was like, shit, what am I going to do now? So it proved that I needed a group, right?
Yeah.
And Christmas time, I went to a southern island in China and I smashed it. I got so drunk, and I remember just drinking red wine, a lot of red wine. And then I was like, right, I have to stop this. And it was January 1st, 2023. And I knew I'd proven that I can't do it by myself. It was a great opportunity. So January 1st, I made the decision, and I didn't want to go back to in-person meetings. So I went online. I found a new sponsor online in the US, and then eventually went back to meetings in
Mm.
person. But I got that clarity that I needed, that I can't do it on my own, and that I am an alcoholic, and that it only brings damage and pain to my life.
Mm. And you were
Mm.
still in China at this point, yeah?
Still in China, yeah.
Yeah, and you were there for 11 years in total.
11 years, yeah. 1 year I left. I lived in Vietnam for a year, but then I went back. That was in 2016.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So moderation, trying to explain it to people. Okay.
Mm.
I know it's a tough one. Why doesn't it work for people like us, do you think?
So moderation is something that marketing uses, right? It's something like everything in moderation, but people that are addicts or, alcoholics, moderation is impossible because we're addicted to it, right?
Mm.
So this goal for most people, and I see it with my clients, most women, they really want to be able to moderate. But for people like us, I feel moderation is worse than just being a drinker. Moderation is, like we discussed earlier, is exhausting trying to moderate because we can't. And the moments we're not drinking, we're thinking about it. And then the moments we're drinking, we're thinking about it. It's an obsession of the mind. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. And it really, for me, it was just quiet in the mind. There was
Yeah.
so like I've got ADHD, and it was
Uh-huh.
just it's just the noise. It's just the noise in the brain and all the distractions. And
Uh-huh.
I just remember getting that first dopamine hit and getting that rush, and it just quietens everything. It quietens that horrible noise, and it's instant, right? And it's easy, and it's readily available everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's calming that relief that we're holding inside the body, right? So we want more and more and more and more because it's so difficult to just live day to day without a substance that's going to numb that pain inside the body. So why would you want to moderate when you can drink all the time and not feel that pain?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
I put the blame on marketing and the society that we're conditioned into thinking that moderation is possible for people like us, but it's not.
Yeah, a lot of people will say to me, they'll say, "But Luke, you say in your personal development and self-development stuff, you say about balance. So why
Mm,
can't you just balance? Why can't you just balance the drink? Why can't you moderate like a lot of other
mm,
people?" And
mm.
it's a really tough one to explain, isn't it? Like the difference between moderation and balance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think like a lot of things you can have in moderation, but when you're addicted to something like alcohol, it's literally survival. So you're trying to survive. And it's like, if I don't get this substance inside of me, this alcohol, I'm going to die. So it's like, you know,
Yeah.
What's the better option, dying or drinking?
Yeah, that is what it feels like.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is. I mean, it sounds so extreme to a normal person who can just have one
Uh-huh.
or two, but to us, it's not. Yeah, so
Yeah,
true.
and I think it really helps, like, in AA having these things like, we have this disease and, it was really helpful at the beginning to understand that for me, that I'm different to everybody else and, it's not an option for me. But some people can moderate things that aren't addicts, like I try and look at myself with, I mean, I'm not very good at moderating many things, but do you know what I mean? It's like that's the ideal. And it can actually be quite offensive to someone that's an addict because we can't moderate. And yeah,
Yeah, it's accepting it. I think, isn't it?
yeah.
It's being honest with yourself and saying, look, I can't moderate. I've tried for years because so many people that I work with as well, they've tried to moderate for years and years and years, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work for them, and they're a lot better off by just staying away from it completely. So
Yeah. I'm so happy I'm not in that anymore. Like, I think I'd rather drink than moderate.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You can't have it both. It's one or the other, and that's it.
Yeah.
So, what led you to plant medicine?
Mm.
Medicine.
Okay. So when I got sober again, the second time around, I went back to AA, but I started to realize that these thoughts and these beliefs around having a disease and being broken, right? Because that's what you kind of are in recovery in these meetings, and it does help in the beginning, like I've said. But I had really low self-esteem, and especially, I mean, for men and women, but I find that women just feel they're completely broken, right? Hence why they people please and things like that. And so again, my circle that I was going to, the breathwork circle, one of the women in that circle, she had tried plant medicine. And I followed Gabor Mate a lot and I watched his documentary, The Wisdom of Trauma. And I don't know if you've seen that documentary, but it's about addicts and he goes into Canada and he actually sat at the Temple of Light in Peru and went and yeah, I just followed his journey and I just had this feeling like I need to do this, right? So I got sick, I was sober for 6 months and I got a contact in the UK that was serving the medicine. And I was very scared because I knew I needed AA. It's life or death, right? If I don't have AA, I'm going to drink again like I did before. So I was very cautious about who I told in AA because they don't really accept plant medicine, even though the writer of the big book was taking LSD and psychedelics to help him get sober. So I knew that I could have one or the other. So anyway, I went to this ceremony in the UK in Wales and it was two different plant medicines. It was ayahuasca and wachuma, which is a cactus from Peru. And they call ayahuasca the grandmother, a very feminine plant, and wachuma is a very masculine plant. So it was you take both of them. And my biggest fear was, am I going to get kicked out of AA? Am I still sober? Right. And at the very end of the ceremony, this couple that was there, this guy came to speak to me and I mean, it was just so funny that it was him, but he came and opened up and I told him my worries about, being in recovery and I don't know how to tell my sponsor because I kept it from her. And then of course it's more dishonesty, which is the opposite of what the program is. And he said, have you ever heard of PIR? And I was like, what's that? And it's a recovery group called Psychedelics in Recovery. And I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, so it's like AA, but you're allowed to use these medicines in a guided way, right? Like it's not like you're taking these medicines and the difference is it's not like you're taking the medicine and you're having a good time. It's the absolute opposite. Probably the hardest thing I've ever done. So anyway, he told me about this program and I went and joined that program and I found a new sponsor and because I knew that this plant medicine had changed my life so much. And yeah, the ayahuasca completely kicked my butt. It just showed me a story of my life, right? But most of all, it allowed me to hold myself in compassion for the life that I'd lived. and be with that younger part of me. But it also gave a lot of compassion to, you know, the man that was abusive in my family. But again, in the medicine, I was kind of bypassing the pain of what he brought to my life. So you really need to like work with a integration therapist and everything to get to the root properly. But yeah, ayahuasca, and it showed me my hangovers, right? So I spent most of my ceremony feeling nauseous, and it was just a flashback of every single hangover that I'd had. And I just got this amazing amount of clarity. And also the medicine really shows you what's going on in the world with the matrix. And it taught me about the system and about how these medicines have been obviously, you know, taken away from us because it allows us to see the truth of what's going on. And obviously big pharma making money out of medicines and things like that, where it just gave so much. And then the Wachuma, which was the next day, it's also known as San Pedro, the cactus. The white people named it San Pedro. And that medicine was all about, okay, what should I do next? Because I know I had 1 more year left in China. I knew that my time there was done, especially after seeing like the Matrix and the 9 to 5, the school system. I was working in a school and I could just see how it's just damaging kids. I mean, I know it sounds quite extreme, but it is. And the way that this system is in place for capitalism and, you know. So I wrote down like, what am I here to do? And I wrote down breath. And I'd been attending this breathwork circle. And I was like, wow, okay. So I went back to China and I spoke to this lady, Mass, who was running these circles, these retreats. And she also wanted to do a breathwork certification. Even though she was doing retreats and breathwork, she wanted to do the certification. So we found Alchemy of Breath. And it was a 9-month program online. And I had a year left. So I spent that time focused on that. And this medicine journey it's like it just took any need for alcohol out of my system. It was like taken out. And being focused on this course also allowed me to kind of stay focused, but also I think once you know, right? And also alcohol is a spirit. So I was kind of working on like seeing that. Anyway, just becoming into a new community, right? A new community. Community is so important. And then I had my PIR sponsor online. I was going to meetings. Yeah. And then that's kind of
That is incredible. So
yeah,
that was from one retreat in Wales.
in Wales.
You went through all of that and you had that
Yeah.
spiritual awakening, really. Would you call it a
Yeah.
spiritual awakening?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. For
How
sure.
how long was that retreat for then?
So it was just 3 days. So we arrived on the Friday, and then ayahuasca usually do it at nighttime. And then the next day we did the Wachuma, and the next day we went home. So yeah, really, really short amount of time. But it took like a good year to integrate all of that.
Yeah. So straight after that retreat, you did a 9-month breathwork
Yeah.
practitioner course, if you like.
Yeah.
So what does it feel like day to day after that retreat and getting the alcohol out of your system, like you said, and
Mm,
seeing the world for what it is? What does it genuinely feel like to be at peace and not
mm.
just white knuckling it every day? I mean, do you feel like you're a completely different person now to what you were before that retreat?
Yeah, definitely. I feel very grateful that I went for that. I feel really grateful that I sat with the medicine because I think it would have taken me years
Yeah.
otherwise. And now because I'm working with addicts, alcoholics, women, running a community, honestly, drinking never comes into my mind. It's just there's other things, right? Sugar, things like that.
Coffee.
But yeah, I mean, coffee for me, no, but sugar. I mean, coffee would make me anxious, so it's not really. But like cacao, I drink a lot of cacao, and sometimes I have to like pipe down on that. But Like alcohol, yeah, like if I wanted to drink tomorrow, I couldn't. What about my clients? What about my community? Like, it's just not a thing. Also, I live in a spiritual community here in Peru. And that sounds a little bit culty, but no one drinks here because everybody's on the path,
Yeah. Yeah.
and like ecstatic dances, events, alcohol isn't allowed in. And I've also done a few ceremonies since being on this land. And
Mm.
actually, that very first ceremony, I met two couples actually that are we're still very, very close. And one of the couples lived here in Pisac, Peru. And when I left Beijing, the plan was to go to Thailand and do breath work. But I ended up speaking to them again, and I thought, right, I want to sit with the medicine again, continue my journey with it, and heal more.
Mm.
So that's how I ended up here. And yeah, like what I've shared recently about moving to Mexico, there's also another community there that I've already gotten to know because I spent a month there back in April. And these are communities where alcohol's not no one drinks because they understand. They understand what it is. And in a ceremony that I did here, the shaman was literally pulling the spirit of alcohol out of my body on a physical level. He said it sucked me down. So it's
Mm.
way more than we think it is.
Mm. Yeah, it is. It's fascinating talking to someone like you
Yeah.
who have been through these retreats, who have had that spiritual awakening. It's something that
Mm,
I find fascinating, and it's definitely something that I want to look into. And the more and more people that I meet in communities like this,
mm,
they've they've done it, and they say, well, it is literally life changing, just
mm.
like it's been so life changing for you.
Yeah. And you realize that they are medicines, like even alcohol is a medicine and it's used in ceremony in particular, like in different places. But of course, you can abuse it. And like ayahuasca, for example, is a medicine, and wachuma, and they're all plants, mushrooms, incredible medicine because
Mm.
it shows you the truth.
Mm. Yeah,
And
it's incredible.
alcohol just dampens it and numbs you.
Just suppresses everything, really. It does.
Yeah,
Like you
exactly.
said, wait, when you know, you know. One of my first clients messaged me recently, and I'm going to get him on the podcast soon. He's coming up to a
Yeah.
year sober now. And
Woo!
yeah, and that's what he always says to me whenever he
Yeah.
messaged me. He says, "Luke, when you know, you know," and it's so true. And it rings true
Mm,
for everyone who's been just
mm.
drinking for literally decades. It takes over their
Yeah.
life, and then yeah, once they
It's a
go sober,
manipulation.
yeah.
It's a huge manipulation and people are not even aware of it, especially in the UK. It's on the TV everywhere, and it's on purpose. They do it on purpose to
Hmm.
keep you numb, to keep you low frequency, and all of these beautiful, incredible medicines are on offer. And of course, they make them out to be the worst thing in the world when they're not.
Hmm. Yeah,
Bring
it's
you back
just
to earth, like the plants, like especially Wachuma. It brings you back to our true nature, which is nature, right? It's like the trees, the earth, and what we're here to do. And we're here to grow spiritually, but like come back into our heart. And all of these, like alcohol and like drugs that are made, are just keeping us away from these things.
yeah, because we're all connected.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me more about the Sober Sisterhood community. What are you actually trying to give women that you work with, Amy?
Okay. So addiction is isolation, right? And we have to heal in community. It's impossible. I know it because I've lived it. And basically, once I did the breathwork course, I knew that from working with a business coach that it was women. It was like people like me that I wanted to help, right? And it's funny looking back now because it's just kind of all just fallen into place.
Mm.
And I had a few women friends anyway that were sober. And I thought, right, do you want to breathe together online? And we started doing it. And it was, I mean, breath work is incredible. It relaxes the nervous system and it allows you to build this safety in the body, which we've never had. So I started leading these sessions and then I was like, right, let's start making an actual community for this. So we're a community on school. and we meet online every other Sunday because we've got women all over the world. Still a very, very small community, really nice and intimate. And we meet online, we do a sharing circle, just like in recovery groups, but there's no kind of rules. You're kind of just expressing what you need. And we have guest speakers, but the guest speakers are mainly focused on like how they did it and the tools that they used. And then we go into movement and breath practices. And the breath work is just totally incredible. And I feel that is the missing part in AA because we need to heal from the inside out, right? There's so much in our head, and all of the trauma and things that we've been through are stuck in the body. So the breath allows us to move through that and come back to our true essence, our heart, and remembering breath work is a little bit like plant medicine. It's coming out of the mind and into the body.
I've had breathwork practitioners on before, and I always ask this: what would you say is the difference between meditation and breathwork? How would you define them? How are they different?
Yeah, okay. So meditation is an incredible tool, right? But people with a lot of trauma and dysregulation in their body, like a lot of addicts, well, addicts have dysregulated nervous system. Sitting still for them is agony, right?
Mm,
So the breath like the breath moves all of this energy. And the end goal is to be able to sit in meditation, to be with sensation. And even breath work can be avoidance, right? We've got yoga, movement, the gym, we've got sisterhood, we've got all of these things. They are all also moving us away from ourselves, but
mm,
they are incredible tools, right? So it's really important that people have that understanding as well. The goal is to be able to sit in meditation and to be with those sensations. But for people at the beginning of sobriety, it can be very, very different. So breath work allows us to build this safety in the body because it literally relaxes the vagus nerve, right? And it
mm,
and
yeah.
and it releases tension from the body so that we can then build this vessel that's able to sit in meditation.
Mm. So it's a good gateway to
Yeah,
practice getting your body and your mind ready to be able to meditate.
yeah. And I mean, like in my sobriety days, as soon as my eyes were open, I was breathing for 15 minutes a day. I had to have it.
Mm,
Breathwork is like the missing piece, I feel. And then you can go into meditation as well. You know, if the mind is very, very busy, it's hard to sit there and it takes practice.
mm,
But yeah, for anyone in early recovery, learn to do breath work first and then meditation and be very gentle. It's a slow process. But yeah, meditation's the goal, I feel.
yeah.
Yeah, and
What?
and just being able to sit with sensations. And the thing is, a lot of us are really scared of being abandoned, right? This is our main fear, no matter who you are. So when we learn how to sit with these sensations in the body and we can be compassionate and kind to them, like, okay, I feel like I'm being abandoned. That's the real meditation to me, like being with the sensations, because you can also disassociate in meditation.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating. It's for a lot of men that I work with, it's being enough. I think
Yeah.
so many men, they haven't got that self worth. They don't think they're enough. But
Hmm.
yeah, when you do the inner work and you learn to love yourself, then like the world's your oyster, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's like the not enough wound, right? I feel, yeah, men have a lot on their plate, right? Because also women expect them to be everything these days. And I said this earlier, the emotional one now, the provider, the protector. You got a lot on your plate, right? So like, yeah, being not enough, that's also a program, being not enough from, again, society. It's in everything. You're not
Mm,
enough. You know, wear this makeup, do this, do this, do this, do this. It's like you're not enough. And just being kind to ourselves is literally a program installed into our nervous system. It's like lack consciousness, not enough, not enough, not enough. And yeah, as long as we can like spread the message that this is something that everybody's affected by because it's, you know, intentionally put into everything that we do. The radio, the TV.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and social
Thank you
media
for the work
definitely
you're
doesn't help.
putting within, it's so important. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
you got to have a lot of patience as well. I think you touched on it earlier. It's having a lot of patience, because so many people will listen to this, they'll be curious, and they'll try breath work, they'll try meditation, it won't work, and they'll say, "Oh no, that's just a load of old
Mm,
woo hoo. I won't bother."
mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I really feel like doing it in community is
Mm,
really amazing, and having your own practice as well. And I'd say to anyone that's like getting sober, a morning practice is key. Like I literally, AA taught me that: get on your knees and ask for help. And that's one of the biggest things that we struggle with, right? And yeah, having a breath work, because the breath is literally the gateway to your body calming down, right? And the mind. So, and that's what feeds into this addiction all the time.
yeah, it's all about being content and being present in
Mm,
yourself. So, so true. So, anyone listening to this, Amy, that are sober curious about going alcohol free, about going sober, what would you say to them? What's the first thing that they can do?
mm. So the first thing they can do is ask for support from someone else that's already sober.
Mm,
That would be the first thing. Reach out. We have to reach out. We can't do this on our own, right? And if there's fear there, just observe it in the body. Okay, I'm fearful of this. This is not something that you're used to doing. So reach out to someone else that is a little bit further along. If you're a woman, reach out to a woman. Maybe a man, reach out to a man. I feel that that's quite important.
mm,
Not forever, but I feel like in the beginning. And find a community. And if you don't resonate with AA recovery groups, find a different community. Now, my community is rooted in nervous system healing. And this, I feel, is the missing piece in recovery, because we have to heal from the inside out. I feel general recovery groups keeps you stuck in this disease addict.
mm.
So basically, reach out, look for some support, find a community that you resonate with. And if you're a bit worried about it, that's normal. This is something completely different. Yeah. And find a breathwork practice, like do it every morning. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I really do feel that breathwork is really starting to take off now. It's becoming more,
Mm,
as people become more and more self-aware, and they see the link in between the mind and the body and the nervous system. It's really, really catching on, isn't it?
yeah. And also, a good point is like you can read all the books, you can listen to all the podcasts, you can go to the meetings, but you
Mm,
have to heal from a body level, from the inside out. And you have to go back and you have to reparent that child that didn't get the support that it needed. And it doesn't go on forever. I mean, the relationship goes on forever, but you don't feel this shit for long.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough in the beginning, obviously going back over it all, but in the long run, of
Yeah.
course, you're going to heal yourself, and on the other
Mhm.
side of all that hard work is something, that can be really, really special. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's all about being patient and working through it.
Yeah.
So, Amy, if you could go back and speak to your younger self, what would you say to her?
I would say it's okay. It's going to work out. Don't worry. And, I'm always really speaking to her by mothering her and loving her and giving her this kind of safe hug that she didn't have because she felt so alone all the time. Yeah. I would just tell her that everything's going to be okay and just keep asking for help.
Hmm. What does the next chapter look like for you then, Amy? And where can people find you? I'll put all your bits and pieces in the show notes anyway.
Mm. Thank you, Luke.
No worries.
Yeah, so the next chapter for me is I'm moving on to Mexico. I'm currently in Peru, but I'll be back in Peru next summer for the Sober Sisterhood Women's Retreat. We're coming to the mountains here, holding a 7-day retreat. So I'll be based in Mexico, but I work online with my clients. I work one-on-one with clients through the Numb No More program, 3-month program, to help you put the drink down and rewire your nervous system. And also what comes with that is the Sober Sisterhood Community on School. And on there, we've got all the breath works, all the recordings, all the resources that you need to get started and stay connected to other women on the path. So, yeah, the two programs I have is Numb No More, the one-on-one, and the Sober Sisterhood Breathwork Circle, and they go hand in hand together. You can find me on Instagram, Divine Breath, and my website is divinebreath.com.
Brilliant. Okay. So
Or my
why are
email.
you going why are you going to Mexico, if you don't mind me asking, Amy? What's
So,
happening in
I think
Mexico?
it's time for some heat.
Are you up are you up quite high in
I
the
am,
Andes?
yeah, yeah,
Right.
really high. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I backpacked around South America back in the day, like
Wow! So you've been here
yeah,
then?
yeah, yeah. I did. I I flew into Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador,
Mm,
Colombia, Brazil. Yeah, I went pretty much the whole way around. Yeah, absolutely
mm.
amazing. 6 months, and yeah,
Wow.
I did the Inca Trail and I did Machu Picchu and Cusco, and yeah,
Oh, wow.
absolutely
Have you
amazing
sat with plant
country.
medicine before?
Pardon?
Have you sat with plant medicine before?
No, no. So this was a long, long time ago.
Mm,
Yeah, I was how old was I when I was in Peru? I would have been in my early 20s. So yeah,
okay, okay.
I was still heavily drinking and partying, and I wasn't thinking about
Yeah.
any of this sort of stuff then. But
Wild Rover hostels, did you go to those?
oh yeah, of course, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I did a
yeah,
South America trip also when I was drinking, it was wild. Yeah.
yeah. No, no, no. It's an amazing country, and yeah, but I backpacked around Mexico as well. So yeah,
Awesome.
y- yeah, yeah, that whole area. But yeah, it's definitely a lot warmer in Mexico, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because it's really warm in the day in the sun, but obviously at night and in the morning it's a bit chilly, and I love Peru, so I think I'm gonna be like Peru, Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Oh,
it
it's
changed.
brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Amy.
Yeah.
Your story is absolutely fascinating. I mean, obviously, traveling the world as well. All the, you know, this podcast is all about courage. It's all about taking that risk, stepping out your comfort zone, and writing that new chapter. And you like your journey. I mean, you know, you've been right through it. You've obviously lived all around the world as well. And yeah, it's a fascinating story. And I just thank you so much for sharing it, and I
Mm,
know it's gonna help a lot of people, and obviously the work you're doing, you're helping people, and it's yeah, it's brilliant. So thank you so much for coming on and
oh,
sharing your wisdom. I've learned loads, and yeah, thank you so much.
thank you so much for having me, Luke. What a pleasure.
No worries, Amy. Thank you.